bark off the trees, and that's the result. And actually, some of the trees that we have on the campus they've been damaged so many times by the squirrels that they don't even grow right anymore. We are the University of Texas campus, and we're a beautiful place to be, so everybody wants to be here. The squirrels want to be here, too. I've been on this campus for 30 years, and I love the campus. I love the trees. It's a major undertaking that we take pride in and will continue to work for. That's what we're paid to do, but that's what we want to do, too. We love it.
That is Bo Davis. He's a do-it-all defensive line coach. Calvin Howell needs to get the dreads put up. Got them all wrapped up right there, and look at that. Bo Davis says, I got you, my man. Welcome back to Texas Practice. Kevin Dunn alongside former great Texas defensive back Ahmad Brooks. Now, Ahmad, if I remember correctly, you never rocked the dreads, so you never had to have Dwayne Aquina put that up, correct?
No, but what a bonding experience for those two guys. And if you're Calvin Howell, that lets you know that your coach really appreciates you.
I love it. Well, we've talked really all summer long and all fall here on Longhorn Network about the addition of tight ends and H-backs to the Brian Harsin offense. Dominic Jones, you see, has 14 yards receiving this year. Barrett Matthews been more of a blocker. Blaine Irby still yet to get that catch. I know Texas fans, after all he's been through, really, they can't wait for Blaine Irby to get that catch. I promise you, at one point this year, number 19 is going to make an impact. But, boy, did number 18, the LBJ grad from Austin, Texas, another guy who's had nothing but knee injuries, DJ Grant. He really, really had a breakout game against UCLA. And this is a guy, Ahmad, man, you obviously know football. I'm going to have to scratch your back again because you were talking about DJ Grant on every practice we've had about how much weight he's put on. He's up to 235 now, but really how good he looks running routes. And, you know, I know everyone's saying Case McCoy's favorite target is Jackson Shipley. It was DJ Grant Saturday.
It was indeed. And why not throw to a guy, as you see here to the left of your screen, who was a former wide receiver and even tried playing wide receiver here before the coaching staff made another great decision and asked this young man to move to the trenches. And this system, this offensive scheme, is ideal for a guy like him. It allows him to line up outside and also flank, but he's become larger, as you said, his frame, which allows him to block the larger defensive ends. In addition to that, he's become a more capable runner downfield. He's had the big right knee surgery that you see now. He's got a brace on, and he was doing all that with a knee brace on.
Yeah.
This young man can stretch the field. He's got speed with wide receiver type hands, and this is why you saw him come out of nowhere. But give credit to the Brian Harsin and Major Applewhite offense because they saw a mismatch on that defense for sure, and they went to this guy when his number was called. He answered.
Yeah, well, and even Jackson Shipley got into the act, throwing a touchdown pass to DJ Grant. A lot of wrinkles in this offense. Brian Harsin, you get the sense that clearly he had talent at Boise, but he's got a couple different chess pieces to play with, and he's going to have some fun playing chess. He has gotten a lot of guys involved in many different ways, and Texas has only played 3 games. So I think Horns fans were optimistic, but really wanted to see what Brian Harsin does with this Texas offense. And, you know, they didn't run Wildcat at Boise. That's something that I think that all these coaches have come together. What Major Applewhite was able to learn at Rice, at Alabama, even at Syracuse. They were barely a Division I team that year. As Major will tell you, they had a tough time, but he still learned a lot about offense and things to do and not to do. You bring in Stacy Searles. You add a lot of different guys that have a lot of different backgrounds, and you've seen really kind of all of it put together. It's still the Boise offense with jet sweeps, but we've seen different things. Let's take a look at most tackles against UCLA. Kenny Vaccaro has just been all over the field. Ahmad has talked about his versatility and how good he is. The linebackers, Emmanuel Acho, Keenan Robinson, 10 and 9 respectively. Adrian Phillips, a cornerback, not only had an interception, but came up with 8 tackles. And Ahmad, this secondary, how difficult is it for young guys in the secondary to make these open field tackles?
It's the toughest tackle in football to make.
Okay.
When you have a skilled guy who's got speed, who's got lateral movement, great feet, and he's got the explosion and the burst to get past you, and you're trying to drag him down with about 15-yard box. That's not an easy task, but give credit to these young group of DBs and also the older gentleman there at the bottom, Blake Gideon, who started every game here, but they've done a great job of dragging down ball carriers, and it also sets a hard edge, and it forces teams that would like to run outside to think, well, that group also tackles well. We might as well take our shot up the middle with these big boys, which you don't want to do.
No, you do not want to do. I want to ask you, for defensive tackles, as we take a look at Bo Davis and the big DTs for Texas, how difficult, we mentioned earlier that you really don't know what, I mean, you know, usually you hear a 4-3, so you got 4 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers, 3-4, 3 defensive linemen, 4 linebackers. At times, it looks like a 1-6-4. I mean, you can't tell what they're running, you know? I mean, as a defensive tackle, is it tough when you don't have 2 guys next to you?
It is, but you do what the coaches ask you to do, and it always pays off if their scheme is good and your effort is great.
Well, Bo Davis requires effort, and we've seen it from the Texas defensive line. There's a beautiful shot of the tower. We'll be back here at Texas practice here on Longhorn Network.
There is nothing like Texas volleyball.
Yes, Rachel Adams with the kill.
Led by senior Rachel Adams, the country's #1 recruiting class is primed to make some noise.
What a shot!
We've got the action, the kills, blocks, and digs Longhorn fans have longed to see. Saturday at 4, Texas takes on Kansas, only on Longhorn Network.
Well, us girls love Texas sports, and we thought since we have our own channel that we would do something to celebrate, and Barbara got the idea to build a stadium.
We baked it for more than 4 hours.
There's the band, there's Bevo, and this is Coach, but I don't think his legs turned out right. The Longhorn Network has all you care to eat football, plus a huge helping of other great stuff.
Texas All Access, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central. If you are a Texas fan or a Texas grad, this is a show you do not want to miss. We go all access with the football program. Great stuff right here on Longhorn Network. Texas All Access, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central on LHN. We're pleased to be joined with the head coach of the Texas football program, Mack Brown. And, Coach, 3-0's got to feel good. What do you do here on your off week, though? You have Iowa State, but you have 1 week off. Do you focus on the Cyclones, or do you kind of spread it around?
You spread it around a little bit. Number one, we need to focus on us. We've got to go back with a young team and a lot of new schemes in all 3 phases and try to figure out what we like that we've done, how can we expand on those things, and also what we need to get better at.
Well, and speaking of improvement, what is an area of improvement you'd like to see?
I think all phases of kicking game. We're still not where we need to be with punt block and return. We've been close. Kickoff return has not been very consistent. Kickoff coverage has been inconsistent. So those are probably the 3 biggest things that we need to see. And then with young quarterbacks coming on, we've got to start expanding their packages some.
Well, some of the young quarterbacks, one of the quarterbacks, Garrett Gilbert, made the decision he's going to go ahead and get shoulder surgery. He's going to sit out this year. You've got 3 quarterbacks on the depth chart now. Are you concerned about that?
Well, you'd like to have 15, and they all need to be able to play. So you're always concerned about everything. The biggest thing was that Garrett hurt his shoulder in the Rice game, and it was really on the play that he tried to flip the ball to Fozzie, and he fell on it wrong. He tried desperately to play the next week against Brigham Young. His shoulder was sore, obviously struggled some. So he felt like, the doctors felt like, and therefore we felt like it was better for him to go ahead, get it fixed, get back as soon as he can, and start helping our young quarterbacks and Coach Harsin and Coach Applewhite with game plans and start helping them on the sideline.
I was so impressed. I was on the sideline for the BYU game, and he was right there as a leader, had the hat on, was high-fiving guys when they came off the sideline. Are Texas fans still going to see that from Garrett?
Oh, yeah. He is a great young man. He cares about Texas. He wants this football team to win, and as soon as he can get back out, he's going to get back out on the field and help us win.
Well, Coach, you've looked good so far, 3-0. We appreciate the time.
Thanks, Kevin.
Well, you take a look at the Texas upcoming football schedule. They are off this Saturday, but at Iowa State. That's not the typical Iowa State game that Texas fans maybe have remembered in the past. Paul Rhodes has done an excellent job with this program, and Iowa State came into Austin last year and upset the Horns. October 8th, enough said. It's the Red River rivalry against number 1 Oklahoma. Following that, though, boy, what a tough stretch for Texas. Brandon Whedon and that high-powered offense come in to take on the Longhorns. That'll be in Austin. That'll be the next time Texas will be back at DKR. Another off week, and then the Kansas game right here on LHN. You take a look at Benny Wiley and just saw him in the gray right there, always in his full jumpsuit to make sure he knows when the players are too hot. And watching the Texas receivers, Darius White, the youngster, one of the most athletic guys on this team, but it's pretty tough Texas receiver unit to break right now. There's a lot of talented guys. You bring Marquise Goodwin back. One guy you do want to talk about, Mike Davis. 3 of his 6 catches, over 40 yards. And Ahmad, I know that this is a Texas team that's still looking for that long passing game. And obviously, number 1, Mike Davis right there is their deep threat.
And that's positive for him because he's become the big play guy, the big play wide receiver. And he's also a young man that in the offseason and in the preseason garnered a lot of attention and was on a lot of lists as being one of the most talented wide receivers here after having a record-setting freshman year. And for him to answer when they need him on those big plays has been great. And that play at UCLA that I'm sure you saw where the DB tapped it up, what great concentration on his part to haul that in.
Yeah, it was great concentration, and it's a nice job for UCLA to try to get that at the peak, but Davis kept his concentration. And, of course, Jackson Shipley. I mean, what can you say about Shipley? He did fumble the punt. You're going to have, for youngsters, you're going to have a couple plays where you go, all right, it's okay. I thought it was funny. Aaron Williams, the former Texas defensive back, tweeted and said, hey, man, I've been there. Don't worry about it. Of course, last year with the fumbled punt against Oklahoma. So Jackson Shipley, though, all in all, has just been excellent for the first 3 games as a Texas Longhorn.
You could put him in there as one of the most surprising players. A lot of people believed that he was going to come in and be competitive and compete for a starting role and for reps. But he's been more impressive than I think most people expected. He's done it in a variety of ways. His route running ability as a youngster is great. In addition to that, his hands are good. And he's even proven that he could throw the football. Had a big 4th down, I believe, conversion against BYU, and then he comes back and throws the touchdown pass to DJ Grant. He can do it all. And this guy here is like Mr. Potato Head. You just ask him something, and he can do it. And Jackson Shipley is a fantastic talent.
Well, you figure when he was a kid, his brother was running routes, his older brother, and he had to throw some balls on the money to his older brother, Jordan. You look at most receiving yards Saturday against UCLA. DJ Grant, what a breakout game. 77 yards, scored 3 touchdowns. Mike Davis also 77 yards. And as we mentioned, just continues to be that deep threat target for Texas. Jackson Shipley, a couple huge 3rd down catches for Texas. 46 yards receiving, really spreading the pill around. It's what Brian Harsin wants to do, but you would expect to see probably more passing and more receivers getting involved because, as you mentioned earlier, Texas is running the football. And as long as you can run and be successful, Darrell Royal will tell you there's no reason to throw the football that much.
Well, it helps every part of your game plan, and that's the first thing you want to establish. And it doesn't really matter what offense you run. Even these spread offenses now are trying to get their run game involved because you need it to move the football and also to control the clock.
Yeah, I mean, gone are the days of John Jenkins and, Klingler and Ware where they had Chuck Weatherspoon and you run the run and shoot and you just kind of run a little bit. You still have to have a power running game even if you run the spread or at least be able to run between the tackles. You see Stacey Searles working with the offensive line right now, and this looks like just a get after him drill.
Well, this drill right here helps you so much in your ability to latch on and to be as we just mentioned, talking about the running game. This is what this drill is. For the defensive linemen, what they're trying to do is shake off these blockers who are coming at them. And the idea for a defensive lineman is to stay in that gap. That's why you see that pad laid there. And for an offensive lineman, it's to drive along that position and to make sure you're moving forward. The only way that you can determine that is if you're eating up yardage. And so as you see right here, Blaine Irby, who's one of the top blockers at the tight end position, or the H-back, whatever you'd like to call it, here at Texas, is a wonderful blocker. And he's been able to, we talked about him not making an impact as far as catches and yardage, but that is where he's made his money early on this season.
He's made his money. Texas Football Overdrive, Texas, UCLA, Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Central. A different look, different analysis, different sound. You don't want to miss it right here on Longhorn Network.